You're listening to the Fatboy Show on RX Radio. How are you doing today? Hoping you had a great weekend doing fun things and having a good time. Of course, what are weekends for? For chilling, watching movies, series. Does anyone still watch TV? TV seems to be suffering in Uganda and arguably world over, but particularly in Uganda. I don't know if I've ever met someone that said, oh, this weekend I was watching this TV show.
But people watch TV. People watch all those nice Ugandan series on
Which
Pearl
one?
Magic Prime.
Yes, those
the
ones.
likes of Prestige, Sanyu. People watch those.
But are they watching UBC?
No. No one is watching UBC.
Which is why it looks like some MPs want the government to merge UBC with New Vision. Apparently, according to their assessments, UBC has not been performing well. UBC is Uganda Broadcasting Corporation. They own a TV channel and a slew of radio stations, of which... well, it's hard to even name them. They're so obscure.
There is Star TV, there is Magic Radio, and
Right.
Star Radio.
Right.
There are many, though.
There are many, and
Yeah.
apparently they're not doing so well. And of course, because they are supported by the government, of course, it makes sense that they would want to see how viable these entities are, if it is worth it to keep funding it. And it's not just Uganda, like world over, there are several state-funded media entities. Most notably in Britain, there is BBC.
But I think BBC makes money for the British,
Right.
government.
So BBC owns the television channels, because it's BBC 1, 2, 3, 4, and then
and
even
there is
radios.
BBC Radio, yes.
Okay, so anyway, in the case of UBC, MPs are saying that the government should not continue to inject money in an entity which, according to them, has consistently underperformed. According to Elijah Mushemeza, who is the Shema County South MP, he said that UBC is not living up to the expectations of the citizens. I want to believe that if UBC cannot deliver with the money we have already given it, then either wind it up or transfer it to another able agency.
Yes.
Wow. So, and this comes in the wake of UBC seeking 66 billion shillings for what they're calling digital transformation. And so, of course, the MPs are like, okay, but why? Why should we?
Actually, Mushemeza emphasized that people do not see the results and that he finds it hard to recommend giving money to something that remains abstract. And I side with him, honestly. Like you asked me earlier, do you watch UBC? No. Even when there is a presidential address, most Ugandans are not going to tune into UBC. They are going to watch NTV or NBS to see the presidential address. They're like, it's the last thing on one's mind to say, let me watch it on UBC, even if all these other stations are actually streaming from UBC.
This is quite interesting. And I think the challenge is because by virtue of the fact that UBC is a state broadcaster, much of its programming is going to lean in favor of the government.
Yes.
But then that doesn't entice viewers to want to watch. Viewers seem to like watching confrontational political discussions. And if you notice, even when you look at NBS or NTV, those are the kinds of programs that
have the highest
ratings and
Yes.
attract the most discussion, right, on social media and elsewhere. But of course, if you're a UBC, I don't know that the management would be, would look friendly or would look favorably upon discussions in which opposition candidates are saying very harsh things towards the government, and that's if even they'll allow such people to be hosted.
When you watch UBC's political programs, you're going to see maybe Minister for Agriculture, then Minister of Finance. Everyone is from the government, by the government, speaking for the government. So you're not going to get the other side of the coin on UBC. And when you look at the business side of it, no advertiser is going to bring their money to a station like UBC that is aligned to one side. That means it's only people from one side that are going to watch it.
There's that. And secondly, there could also be a management issue, because while, it is true that they are handicapped by their attachment to the government, I still think that given the amount of infrastructure it has, that it ought to be in position to leverage some of that. So, for example, whereas they may not boast all the viewership of an NBS, nonetheless, because it's controlled by the state, surely there are companies who want to be in the friendly books of the government.
But at the end of the day, you're not into business just to be friendly or to be seen as friendly by the government. You need to make money.
Like if I were the MD of UBC, for example, I'd be walking into these the CEOs' offices of these companies and be like, hey, you don't want the Auditor General to be sniffing around for some impropriety. You don't want the regulator to come breathing down your neck this financial year, do you? So maybe support us and we support you.
No, that would be wrong. And if that got out, that MD would be in trouble, actually.
Isn't it one of those things that need not be explicitly stated?
Maybe if it's a directive.
You do it like a mafia, like, it would be a shame if the regulators came and investigated you.
But you see,
really be a shame.
These companies you're talking about, let's say MTN, these companies are audited thoroughly every year. So there is nothing the Auditor General might find, because they take their businesses seriously, because it's a private entity. The shareholders want to see their money's worth.
Okay, so the argument, or at least what some MPs are saying, is that why not just merge UBC with New Vision?
Because New Vision is actually able. New Vision is making money. It has had its challenges, but compared to UBC is really...
But how well are they doing? Can I just ask? Because do you remember when lockdown first came? Within the second month of lockdown,
they were firing people.
They were downsizing, and they were giving pay cuts to those who remained. Is that how a company behaves when...
Isn't that what most companies were doing during the lockdown, though?
What I mean is, my point is this: if you are a struggling company, I can understand. If you're a struggling company and it looks like your cash flow might be heavily impacted, I can understand. But if you are a state institution that is also thriving in the private sector, such as New Vision, presumably earning billions and billions and billions annually, are you telling me you can't weather 6 months of a downturn?
I think it was just a coincidence, because I had friends that were working at New Vision at the time, and there was already talk of them downsizing. Now, when the pandemic came in, they used that as a perfect opportunity to downsize and restructure. New Vision has so many companies under it, and many radio stations, newspapers, and I think at some point they had realized that some of those people were just weaklings. They were just taking money, but they were not really necessary in the company.
They were more like luxury, like novelties.
Exactly. So when the pandemic came, that gave them the perfect excuse to let go of a biggest part of their workforce. But still, compared to UBC doesn't bring in any money. UBC depends solely on the government. And the MPs are right. They're like, we give you 66 billion to do what? Because even if you were to depend on the government, you would have better programming, you would have, bring something, but they don't have anything.
Well, unfortunately, again, they are handicapped by their association with the government. Because the kinds of programs that would potentially generate heavy ratings are not programs that the higher-ups would approve of. Like, again, political debates, Chimeza.
Chimezas were even banned.
They were even banned. So, in other words, all of the programming that would attract viewers they can't have on their networks.
But okay, away from the political, because not everyone that watches TV, the housewives that stay home to watch TV, don't necessarily watch political shows. But they don't even have anything that is enticing. I don't watch Bukede TV, but I'm sure if I were to try and watch, something would, suit my fancy. On UBC, there is nothing. There is nothing. It's just a training ground of journalists that end up going to better stations.
In my opinion, I feel like TV in Uganda is suffering. Really, media in general, because when you look at even like the best rated TV stations, they really are coasting on the success of their political programming. Right, so I was asking someone the other day, okay, so name me 3 shows on NBS, and they just told me the news and one of the debate shows.
News is like the baseline for all of them.
The news, so it's like, because I remember in the 90s, I used to watch TV a lot. At the time, it was Sanyu TV, right? That when it was still new. and then it became TV Africa. But then, Punky Brewster, Renegade, Dark Justice.
Here is the thing.
Judge Judy. You could just list off all these programs that you knew you would make time to go and watch because they were great shows. But because today all of these shows can be obtained through other means.
That's what I was going to say,
Okay.
that media is suffering the existence or the emergence of cable TV, of streaming services, because if I'm going to, if I have to check a certain TV station, let's say NTV, to watch, let's say, Grey's Anatomy, the new season of Grey's Anatomy, and then they will show me 30 minutes, and then they...
and then next week.
I can go to Hulu or Apple TV or Netflix and stream all the episodes.
You can binge watch the entire season over a weekend.
So why bother? And of course, there are movie libraries. I thought those things were out of business, but they still work because there are still people who go with their flash or their hard drive and they get like 5 seasons of something.
And also, let's be honest, most people just download these movies and series.
There is that too.
So, why pay some? I guess the challenge becomes when people are considering paying for some subscription service, vis-a-vis just downloading it. It's easy to see where people would be leaning into.
Of course,
right?
Of course,
it's the easier way out.
It's the easier way out.
It may not be the most honest way, but that's what people are doing. So, in the case of UBC, my goodness, what kinds of programs can they air? Because if you look at the TV landscape here, it's the news and then it's just music shows.
Music shows, yes, you're right. But maybe what could save UBC is having other government agencies, because this is the weird part. Government agencies, when they're to advertise or run campaigns, let's say it's a malaria campaign, Ebola, COVID-19, they're coming to the likes of us. Maybe if they could also advertise and run their campaigns massively on UBC, it would still help in some way. I don't know.
Okay. Well, who is the MD of UBC? Is it that gentleman who used to be at NTV?
That's...
Is it still Morris?
Yeah. Is he the MD or the deputy?
Okay. I can't remember.
But still, he's one of the people that run the place.
Okay. So, I don't know that this request by MPs will be immediately affected by the government, but at the very least, it's probably going to give the management of UBC a bit of a wake-up call to say, hey, our days could be numbered.
I don't think their days could be numbered. I feel like the president likes it, so it serves his interests.
You think?
Yeah, the ruling class like it. It works for them, so...
Okay. I only watch TV when I'm in a barber shop. Because it'll be showing.
So you don't watch local news at all?
Because it's all on Twitter. Everything there is to be known.
Does Twitter give you the details though? Because every time I watch news, I feel like I get a better perspective of the issues.
And I like that you asked that, but who cares about the details? People just want the headline.
There are people who watch news actually. Like they cannot... News time is family time, but away from family, news time is important in some homesteads.
Hey. Well, anyway, we are in the media too, so of course we wish UBC and everyone involved their best, and whichever way it ends up in the end, whether as part of nation media or it'll maintain its autonomy, that is for time to tell. But please keep listening to RX Radio. It's your number one station playing you so much great music, and this is the Fatboy Show.